Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Eat, Smoke, Drink. Today I am reviewing the Connoisseur's Choice by Gordon and Macphail. Connoisseur's Choice Mortlach 30-year-old. It is a refill American hogshead. It is 48.8% and this is a release from, it's a 1988 and it's a 2018 release, which is the end of last year, but you know, it's still it's still pretty relevant because there'll still be bottles like this lying around that you can look for if that may be the case. So Mortlach is a heavy whiskey. It uses worm tubs to condense the spirit and it allows heavier elements to make it to the final spirit. So a lot of Mortlachs that you get actually have a sherry influence in them. A lot of independently bottled Mortlachs and the Mortlachs that you get in duty free and the stores, the square bottles, are actually a little bit of sherry influence in them. This is just bourbon influence, so it'll be quite interesting, and it's quite a privilege as well. 30 years is a very old whiskey and that's very exciting every single time. Let's get nose in. Oh wait, before we do that, some water in that particular whiskey. That's intense smelling, very intense. Quite a metallic smell, mineral. It is quite heavy, slightly oily in smell. A very intense vanilla, intense coconut. The tannin is, I'd say the tannin is actually quite a well balanced tannin, but you can definitely smell the wood and tannin in there from the bourbon cask. I'm getting a white pepper, slight gingery note. I'd say candied ginger, brown sugar, caramel, and a very slight floral hint to it as well. And I'd say a very fine hint of rosemary as well with that. A slight savouriness to it, a savouriness character. Very pleasant smelling. But yeah, what I notice is that the smell is quite oily, quite sugary, quite sweet. It is a very heavy smell, quite potent, 48.8%, but it smells much higher than that. Let's smell the one with water. Okay, so with water, that smell does subside a little bit and it becomes a little bit more easy to digest in terms of smelling. I'm getting like a baby wipes kind of smell in that, the alcohol of baby wipes. The sickly sweet coconut's coming through. The floral note is coming through a little stronger with water. The metallic subsides a little. I'm getting honey. The smell is quite, I mean, it's not overly complex, the smell. It doesn't jump out at you and go, oh yeah, all these smells, I'm confused. It's not like that, but there's one smell, like almost like an incensey smell that I'm getting. That's the best way I can describe it. You know, you go to a temple in Asia and you smell that incense smell in the faint background. I mean, I wouldn't say smoky, but it's just that perfume of that incense. And what I'm getting from both samples, I've realized now, it's a little bit of menthol. Just a hint of menthol. Let's taste. Quite exciting. 30 years old, 1988. Wow. 48.8%, that goes down easy. Sweetness is the first impression that I get. Minerally, stony, like being by a riverbank with wet stones. The tannin is not heavy, but it's definitely present. Doesn't have much of a heat, slightly spicy, not much of a heat with that. toffee, a little bit of fudge. It is slightly buttery, the texture in the mouth. The finish is very, very long. The finish is quite complete, all-encompassing, permeates through your tongue and mouth, and the mouthfeel is chewy. Quite an intensely flavored whiskey, but it is relatively narrow, shall I say, because it is, the bourbon cask is quite, I mean, look, bourbon casks are quite unforgiving. It's a very nice whiskey, I can tell you right now. It's quite enjoyable. Shoo, fly, get out of here. And then the fly wants some as well. This fly wants a little piece of this mortlach. Yeah, it's the flavor is caramelly, toffee, fudge, buttery, oily. On the back end, I am getting a little bit of citrus peel, citrus oil. It says on the front it's lime. I think, yeah, there is a little bit of lime in there, but I'd probably say the menthol is much more prevalent. I'd say a citrus peel, maybe both lemon and lime, a little bit of that peel. They're very oily, the mouthfeel is delicious. It's very, very good. Let's try the one with water. With water, a spice comes through a lot more, like a candied ginger spice. It hits you a lot more. The sweetness subsides, becomes a bit more savory. It actually becomes a little bit heavier with water. That's interesting. The minerality comes through, the stoniness comes through. I am tasting more of that oak. More of that oak comes through with water. Unfortunately, the toffee diminishes a little bit, the fudge diminishes a little bit, the butteriness goes away a little bit. I think the water ruins it a little. I think the water makes it a bit too hot and spicy, and brings out the water makes it a little bit imbalanced. I think without water it was perfect. Quite a big whiskey. It coats the mouth, the flavor's complex, the finish is long, the finish is everlasting, and it's very, very lingering. Yeah, with water, I think it ruins a little bit, it makes it a little bit too off balance. Look, this is a 30-year-old whiskey, it's a 1988, there's only 129 bottles of this, so if you do get one, it'll be a real find, and it's a hell of an experience. Mortlach is also known as the Beast of Dufftown. The Beast of Dufftown, because it is a beast. It is not for the faint-hearted mortlach. It is not for the entry-level drinker, in my opinion, because if your go-to drink are gateway whiskies, what I call gateway whiskies, like Glenfiddich, Glenlivet, and just the basic stuff you get in liquor stores, are about 40 to 43%, or even 46%, then you're going to find this to be a bit of a struggle and challenging whiskey, because it is quite a mouthful, uber complex, super intense, super strong whiskey. But it is a hell of a whiskey. No water is my vote. Would I buy this again? Well, yes, I would, but this wasn't actually bought by me. This was lent to me by Sunny. Thank you, Sunny. And but yes, it is a very good whiskey. I would definitely revisit it again. I think having it open for another month or two definitely will give it a little bit of breathing space and help it come to its own. So yes, I think it's worth it. It is quite expensive, but it is definitely an experience. It's not something I would sit on all night. I'd crack it open, have a dram on a special occasion, and maybe go do something else afterwards, or maybe even go something else beforehand and then finish on this and finish on a high. Cigar pairings, I would go all out with this one. This will drown pretty much most cigars. It's such an intensely flavored whiskey. So I'm actually going to pair this with a Liga Privada Feral Flying Pig by Drew Estate, and I'm going to make sure that I put a link up for my cigar review paired with this one as well, because I think the oiliness, the robustness of that whiskey, of that cigar will pair well with the robustness of this particular whiskey as well. And of course it's a 30-year-old, so I want to pair it with something special as well. So watch out for my look out for my Feral Flying Pig review, whether it's worth buying or not. Thank you for joining me today, and see you again until next time. And until then, make sure you eat, you smoke, and you drink. Cheers.